Hello, my lovelies, and welcome to episode 48 of the Prosperous Yogini Podcast. And I'm so excited today because it's one of my interview episodes, which I know you guys really love. And I'm joined with Claire, who isn't in the UK. She can reveal where she is in a moment. And I know Claire because she joined my mentorship program back in January. So she is here to talk to you about that. But we're also going to talk about motherhood and working because Claire's got 2 young children. And this podcast will 100% be no more, I'm looking at the time, no more than 40 minutes because Claire is on her schedule like so many of us mums are. And then Claire, if you're watching on YouTube, you'll see Claire has a studio background behind her. Claire owns a studio, and I'm really conscious that I haven't really spoken to you guys on the podcast at all yet about studio ownership, and it is one route that yoga teachers can go down. I've been down it. I've had 2 studios. So this is kind of like planting the seed that in the future we'll talk more about studio ownership, but we'll ask it from Claire today. So Claire, first of all, just tell everyone where you are, who you are, where have you come from?
So my name's Claire. I'm living in Switzerland, not far from Geneva. And I'm from London, born in London, grew up in Essex, and I'm both now Swiss and British, Swiss and English. Um, I'm on Amy's wonderful mentoring program. And as Amy said, I'm a studio owner. I'm also a qualified sophrologist, which I know in the UK, everyone's like, what the hell's that?
I had Claire.
So
I
far,
had to
so
Google
far.
it. When you
So
joined the mentorship
yeah,
program, I was like, I'm just going to Google what this is. Yeah.
Google it. Yeah, it's really popular in the French speaking world, and you have some ladies, like French ladies in London. If you Google it, it comes up. It's really cool. The mixture of visualization and gentle movement and breathing, and it does come from yoga. So it
It's
comes out of the
so
medical world here.
sophrology.
Yeah.
Sophrology.
Sophrology. Yeah, sophrology. And more importantly for this podcast, I'm a yoga teacher, mums, bumps, and I want to say like mums, bumps, children, teenagers,
Well,
the whole range. I generally don't teach adults on their own without kids.
at the moment, I mean, like, I think universe, I totally agree, and I know you're on this wavelength with me that like the universe like attracts people, and it's like it's really interesting. Here I
Yeah,
am, down tucked way down in the UK in Cornwall. There you are in Switzerland on the French-Swiss
yeah,
border near Geneva, and we have connected. And I think you're like me, multi-passionate. So you do teach. You teach pregnancy yoga, mum and baby yoga,
yeah,
toddler yoga,
yeah.
children's yoga. You can't tell if you're watching on YouTube from behind Claire, but her studio is set up. You do the sling yoga, aerial yoga.
Yeah, I got the
Yeah,
aerial
yeah.
yoga. And I do
And
corporates now as well.
do you, I mean, you
So I
can
do work with
teach,
adults as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
you can teach adults. The thing is, it's time, is
Yeah.
because you also are a mother.
Yeah.
How old are your children?
Yeah. So I have one child that's 5 and one child that's 2. Yeah.
Or
And I live with my husband and 2 children in the same village that my studio's in. And they are my why, they are my motivation. I haven't always been a yoga teacher. I just find the balance between work and family by being able to choose my own hours.
yeah, and
And
I
it
think
lights me up working with people as well in this
yeah.
way.
And I think that's it. I will come on to motherhood and like juggling it all, but
Yeah.
that really, I mean, there's so many jobs, and then hopefully one day employers will wake up to this idea that if they make flexible working hour, where it's possible, flexible working hours more possible for men and women. When we bring children into the world, we'll all be able to
Yeah.
do that thing like work and spend time with our children. And at the moment,
Yeah.
so many women, for us to be able to achieve that, we have to go into self-employed work. Right, I'm not going to rant about womanhood and motherhood too. That's for another day. So studio pros and cons. I think it's worth touching on this. Just a bit of background. I've had 2 studios in my time. One was a bit of a disaster and one was a real success. So I do know like why we are driven to that studio dream. I totally get that. I've had that studio dream and created it. Claire, for you, your studio, I don't know if anyone picked up on that, but it's really close to where you live, isn't it? Can you walk to your studio?
Yeah. That's crucial for me. I can walk to it in under 10 minutes,
Mm,
which means I get to work quickly. My daughter's school is opposite. And
mhm.
so when picking the location, it wasn't location, location, location for the clients. It was location, location, location for me.
Mhm.
And yeah, and I don't know, like you, I love the idea of like creating a space so it has this nice energy, somewhere for people to meet in person. Like as
Mhm.
much as I love the
Mhm.
online stuff as well, I really, really appreciate the need for
Yeah.
us human beings to meet in
Yeah. I,
person.
there's two things there, guys, that you need to pick up on. Let's take the first one. I'm always saying to people when they come to work with me in my mentorship program, like, you're driving here, you're driving there, you're spending an hour driving to and from this class. Like, is it worth it? The best thing, if you're going to teach in person, is do it near where you live, do it near where you can walk to. And I think if you're going to combine being self-employed and being a mother, it's really convenient if you've got your school nearby, you can walk to your studio, or you can walk to the hall that you're renting in, or it's not a big drive. I mean, one of the big mistakes I made with my studio is, my first one was, it was a 25-minute drive and I had a young baby, so by the time I went out and taught one class, I was driving 50 minutes to, and you don't think about these things. 50 minutes, if you don't have children, you don't necessarily think about it, but when you've got a child, that 50-minute drive really matters, doesn't it? It's that time away from your
Yeah.
child. And then in the COVID, so when did you open your studio, Claire? How long have you had
Yeah,
it?
I was really smart. I opened it in the beginning of 2019. So just before COVID. So it really was like, oh, I'm rocking this, being good at business.
No, Claire, can I just tell you,
I'm
like, I
now,
thought,
so
yeah,
still
I
sat
had,
here inside the studio.
no, look, and you survived that for years. I had a friend who opened a studio in January 2020. And at the end of 2019, when we were talking about it, I literally said to her, do it. What's the worst that could happen? Oh, a global pandemic where we all can't teach in our studios. Oh, nobody saw that one coming. But listen, massive pat on the back for keeping your studio doors open. And when we're thinking about the pros and cons, like, the pro is you've got this beautiful space that you've got complete control of. You are the energy of your studio. I've seen pictures of it. I've seen the kids in the slings. It's beautiful. And it also gives you, I know in our mentorship program, we're a bit like, well, try this and try that. And it gives you a bit of freedom, doesn't it, to try something new?
Yeah,
'Cause it's not like you've got to go out and rent another space. Like, the space is there, the rent is a fixed cost. So it gives you some freedom to try stuff. The challenge is it
yes,
also
definitely.
gives you the pressure to meet costs. So like,
Yeah,
if you rent a village hall, the class don't work out, then you can cancel that rental, but you've still got the overheads of your studio. And I think that's been such a pressure for people in COVID. But I'm so pleased to see you
yeah,
sitting in your studio, because there was a time,
yes,
so like 2020, 2021, where you saw a lot of like chat about, oh, it's the death of in-person yoga. It's the death of yoga studios. And I think yoga studios and spaces where people can come together in person to meet, to create community through yoga is so important. And, I
definitely.
do, anybody listening to this podcast, support your local studios. I mean, like, there's a studio to me at the moment that's fundraising to keep their doors open, and they've fortunately got a lot of support. And I think people don't realize what they haven't got until it's gone, or what they've got until they've gone. So gold
Yeah.
star emoji to you. So on that topic, what okay, let's start with the negatives. What are the cons? What is it about
Yes.
owning your studio that is not so glamorous, or is not so, like, all bells and whistles?
Yeah, I don't make a huge amount on the studio
Mhm.
rental, so I clean it myself. So it's fine. It's just the fact that, it does need cleaning and studios get blooming dusty with a
Oh,
lot of
you
people
know what?
coming through. I
Skirt.
change the toilet paper. I do all of that. And maybe eventually, I've had a woman in the village say she can't afford a class, but she cleans the school. So it might be now
Ah.
that I'm gonna do an exchange. So there are ways. Also, sometimes I feel like I have had to really take care of my own well-being to remain calm
Mm.
about sometimes the pressures of making that money
Mhm,
each
mhm,
month, like
mhm,
believing it's gonna come. And that's tough as well. And I think that's on the positive side when you know your why,
mhm,
you really believe in what you're
mhm,
offering is your like dharma, as we say in yoga. It's your
mhm,
true
mhm,
like what you're meant to be doing. And
Mm,
I really feel like that, especially with prenatal yoga,
mm,
it's really what I want to offer,
mm,
and share, and also with the kids and whoever comes through. So I
mhm.
think that that's like kind of negates, like you need to, I feel as a studio owner, you need to have that, because there are going to be tough months, even if you've got the busiest studio and the busiest place. In summer, for some weeks, I'm sure everyone's going to be gone, and you're like, oh,
Totally. And look, and I think
this month.
it really helps us individual small studio owners to sometimes look to the big guys. So not so long ago, Try Yoga, I know, was brought out by, I think, the company of David Lloyd Leisure. Like, and Try Yoga in London is this humongous, like, very successful studio. It's hard. And those things that you're talking about, those monthly overheads, those monthly costs, and it's rent, it's electricity. And I think this has been the main challenge
Yeah,
for studio owners. I mean, don't know what it's been like in Switzerland, but in the UK, energy prices have gone
yeah,
up, and it's gone up for everyone. And then it's been a
yes,
real challenge for studio owners. Do I pass those costs on to other people, to my students, whose their prices are going up? But if I don't
yeah.
pass them on, then my doors will going to have to shut. And I think it's such this for any studio owner who has seen it through the last 3 years. I'm just going to say you've done it. I feel like you've done, nothing can stop you
Yeah,
now.
I feel like that now. I don't
Nothing
want to
can
be too
stop
smug,
you.
just in
Yeah.
case, but I'm
Yeah.
still here.
Uh,
And the other thing, Amy, that I would
mm,
touch on is, like, I know you do the same with your studio, is that because I want to be with my kids, I rent it out to other
yeah.
yoga teachers. Sorry, it's my internet unstable, so I hope you still hear
I
me.
can still hear
Um,
you. Don't
and
worry.
okay, lovely. And I think the real important thing is that you really make sure that those other people that are in your space are like aligned with your values. For me, anyway, because oh, it can get confusing, energizing. Someone that's, something completely different, no opposites. It's great to have different styles of classes. But I think just to be somewhat people that you really you want in your space as
Yeah.
well, and not just to jump at the first people that come along.
Hmm.
Because
Hmm.
then that is an extra, then it flows smoothly, and you can get, I know I get a bit of extra money in,
Hmm.
and it's really nice. The other ladies, it tends to be ladies that come to work here, live
Hmm.
in the area, so it brings more people in from the area. So that again is one thing, like, to watch out for. Like, I've had
Hmm.
quite a few yoga teachers and kind of mess it, not purpose probably, but and
Hmm.
mess me about. But yeah, they could go for it. No, they're not. Yes, they are. And from me, because I'm a bit more of a risk taker, I'm like, well, I've taken on this whole place, and they're debating like whether they want to take it for an hour a week. So for
Yeah.
me, it's like very different from the way I behave. So like,
Mm.
I think to be prepared for, if you do rent out your studio,
Yeah.
just to really set the boundaries clear about
A
what's what.
hundred
And
percent.
yeah, and I also work in other people's studios sometimes as well. And it's really interesting to see how other people are with,
I think
when I go there.
you do. And I
Yeah.
was thinking about when you were talking about cleaning, and I was like, oh, yeah, the floor, the skirting boards. You have no idea. You do have to get on your hands and knees and clean skirting boards. And one of
Yeah.
the things when you were talking
Yeah.
about cleaning that I have experienced when I've owned my studios is the protocol for putting the equipment away so it looks nice, right? Okay.
I know.
Like, and like I mean,
I
maybe
know.
I'm anal about it, but it's like just fold up the mats, make the blocks and blankets look nice, and
I know, I'm really chilled about
oh,
it, but
are
I
you?
totally get when people come into the room, like, I'm really chilled about it, but I had to like buy this mat hanging. These are the mats that hang, because
Yeah,
I could not handle anymore the way people roll up mats so that they're
yeah,
all goofed up at the bottom. And I'm just like, "Oh, you silly." So I just got rid of them, and I use them in the schools, those
yeah.
mats, and I've got the mats hanging now, because I'm like, you know what, yeah, so I'm pretty chill, but I agree with you. Like, people don't put stuff away, and it's because they're busy in their lives.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when I go to use another studio, I'm like putting everything
Yeah,
back, really,
no.
like,
And I really think once you've been a studio owner, when you go into another rented space, you get it, and then you behave like that. Like the studio I
yeah,
went for my yoga teacher
yeah,
training
you
course,
really
like,
appreciate it.
so I actually cleaned the skirting boards in there the other week. I was like, I'm just going to do the skirting boards, and great. So there's some great stuff in there, guys, about what Claire's doing. So skill sharing, so swapping like a cleaner outfit coming to a class. That's a great way of reducing your costs. getting consistent income in, which isn't just your endeavors. So there's kind of like two ways that you can operate a studio. You can pay yoga teachers to do the class for you, or you can rent the space out. The former is a tough one because not only have you got to cover your rental, you've also got to get enough people through the door to cover that teacher's costs, to pay that teacher a fair amount, and that model can really work. But I would definitely say you've got to have the numbers behind you to go down that model. Whereas if you sublet it, you can bring in some income like that. And that's the model I went down second time round, and it was a great model. And 100%, Claire, you get the flakies, the ones that turn up, aren't gonna commit. And then over time, you just get, you see it now, you've got these consistent people that come into your space that are part of it. I guess if you almost got to expect there's going to be a couple of people that come in, start a class, and a couple of weeks later go, no, it's not for me. But you've got to get clear boundaries, payments in front. Yeah, and I think overall, I remember when I had my studio, and interesting, I had my studio when my kids were young as well, that I just got fed up of not having control of the space, not wanting to create one space where I could go to, that I didn't have to lug my kit around, that I could keep my kit and create the energy and create the vibe. And I think when we're teaching pre-postnatal yoga, I mean, like, we all want a nice nurturing space, but mums and mums to be need it more than anyone, don't they? They don't want to be going to a cold village hall that ain't that pleasant. So on the topic of motherhood, we've really got to share this. I don't know if you've done it today, but on a Friday, correct me if I'm wrong, you teach in the morning, a couple of classes, and you go home and then have a nap with your 2-year-old.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I did today as well. Not for long, like 20 minutes. I still breastfeed my little boy and just normally goes to sleep. So my husband does try his best to get him to sleep, but normally we snuggle up as a breastfeed and we get in bed together, and it's just lovely because it's the day I'm away from him that we have that like lovely time together. And he does wake me up in the night, so sometimes I'm really tired. So yeah, I do. I teach 2 classes in the morning, prenatal and a toddler yoga class, which is quite high energy. And then I go home and have a yeah.
I love that. And the other thing you're doing that's really smart, that I would say to everyone, but particularly smart if you've got young children, is you hear Claire going out and teaching 2 classes back to back. I mean, I've talked about this before when some teachers come into my life and they're teaching 1 class here and 1 class there. And I'm like, God, you're out every day teaching 1 class. It must feel like you're working all the time. Whereas when you've got children, you're so better at being smart with your time. And once you're out, the effort of leaving them isn't easy, is it? When they're young as well. So you've left them, you've got them to school, you've got them to nursery, you've left them with daddy, they're dressed. You might as well teach 2 classes back to back. And then
2 classes, financially as well.
And you've got
and it's nice to have that bit of chunk of time, and some of the classes are shorter, aren't they? Like I know for me, my class is really 45 minutes with the young one, so it really 2 is really smart. I learned that from the mentoring program as well. I hadn't thought of that.
I know we will get onto that. I think that like, one of the challenges is, let's be honest, is when your children are poorly, like, and you have I mean I learned over the years actually to factor it in terms of financially factor it in, that there would be times that I wouldn't be able to go out and teach because my children would probably be poorly, and I would either have to pay a cover teacher, carry credit over, or refund people, because it used to really annoy me when I had to couldn't work because I had a poorly kid, and I'd be like, okay, I've got like an hour's worth of admin to cancel the classes for the day. And now I'm going to refund people. So I'm £200 worse off. And but I used to find that a real frustration. But over the years, I was like, look, this is part of being self-employed and being a mother. If it was like, my husband is employed, so if there was an opportunity where he could look after the poorly kids, he would. But it's that balancing act, isn't it?
Yeah, it definitely. My husband's in like part-time role, like 80%. So, and it is quite flexible, because actually when you work in an office, it is easier to be the one that looks after the kids, because you can catch up on your work later. We miss the class slot, we miss it.
I know.
So like he will pick up on the kids, but when they're really young, sometimes, as we know, they only need mum, and if they're really sick, you wouldn't want to leave them. So I think that's part of having clients that like your tribe and clients that get you, and you've shared a bit about your life with them. So you do have, if you do have to cancel, once I had to cancel in another studio, a kids class, and all that the mums were worried about was how my little boy
Yeah.
was, So it was really cute. I was like, well, they weren't angry, So
No.
he thought about that. But I think it's important to give it a thought, isn't it? What am I going to do
Mhm.
if they're sick?
Mhm.
Like, have this protocol that you follow. So when it happens, it's not like a stressful thing. You know
No.
what you're going to do.
No. I mean, my
Yeah.
husband's a school teacher, so it's a bit trickier. So the protocol at our
Cannot
house, but
cancel. No, he'd be
yeah,
jumping the gear. He cannot.
but funny enough, he works
Yeah.
80% as well. He's 0.8, but
Oh,
we have a
really?
protocol where we like who's got the most amount to lose in terms of not going to work today. So like
Yes.
if he'll be like, Amy, I've got year 11s, they've got to do their coursework. I'm like, okay, you go. I'll cancel the
Yes.
classes. Whereas
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
he's like, I've got year
Yeah.
7, I've got year 8, and I've got a free, I'm like, right, I'll go, and I think you
Yes.
do need to have a system and it needs to be thought out, particularly when you are self-employed. And then when it comes to this having a studio and you just know there's going to be quieter mums, you need to see you don't get this at first, but you've had your studio since 2019, although it's because it's been so bumpy, it still might not feel like a complete rhythm for you. You need to eventually you get an annual rhythm. You know that you make more money, say January and September, October,
That's
but
totally true.
July
Yeah.
and August are quiet. Or you get clever and you think, right, well, this works. July and August are quiet months. What would work as an offer instead? And the main thing is creating, and I know we'll go on to my mentorship program next and everything that you've done, but it's creating consistent income within your studio. So
Yeah.
subletting is one. And I know for you, we've looked, let's get into this. So I feel like when you join my mentorship program, you had everything you needed. Like you had a
I
studio,
know. So
you had a
privileged. Yeah.
website. No, not privileged, but like I think we
Yeah.
other people listen to this podcast, right? Who will have I always say we always have what we need in front of us, just sometimes we can't see
Yes.
it. Right? You had
Yeah.
you had website, a booking system, you had a
I did. Yeah.
studio. Yeah. And what
Done a bit of Instagram.
yeah,
Yeah.
you had social
Yeah.
media, you had all the ingredients. What was missing was that sense of consistent income and a pathway to grow your income, particularly as
Yes.
one thing we must acknowledge as much mothers, like our children get older, and as
Yes.
our children age, our business will change. Like one thing that's
Yes,
happened
for
for me,
sure.
yeah, one thing that's happened for me when my kids were your age, like I would work school hours and I'd do a couple of evenings and weekends because that worked out. Like it was really intense and it was nice to go out and teach a yoga class and my husband was at home. My children are nearly 11 and nearly 9 now. And oh my days, the weekends and the evenings are precious and very chock-a-block. Like I'm their social secretary stroke taxi. So my business has almost gone full circle. I now try and get everything I can done within the school hours and cut back massively on how much I'll work in the evening and how much I'll work at weekends. But that's because, and I know our whys are the same, at the bottom of our why is working in a way that allows us to thrive as mothers and be there for our children.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think, Claire, I'm going through everything we did. I think the first thing we did is look at what you currently had. And
That's right. Yeah.
so you were, can you remember your pricing structure? Like your pregnancy yoga, was there just drop in?
Yeah, I had a drop-in system where people would just pay and come in, and the same for my mummy baby. They just
Mm-hmm,
paid whenever they wanted to come.
mm-hmm,
I was being flexible because I know how hard it is when you have a baby.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
We quickly decided that it's not sustainable,
It's
and
just
I see
not.
so many places they go out of business. And so now when people say, I really want a drop-in class, I said that's really nice, but the person that's running it won't be here for long because they
No.
might last a year or so. But everywhere that's done that is shutting. It's not
Yeah,
sustainable.
it's not. And
And yeah, it's not the way other activities run. We talked about in detail, like
mhm,
your kids' music or your kids' football. They
mhm,
pay. If they're sick, they still pay. And
mhm.
so like we came like we had to change that. That
We
was
did,
one
and
of the biggest shifts.
and let's be honest, it's made a massive difference. You've gone from having like a
Yeah,
couple of people in your pregnancy clusters, or let's take mum and baby, you'd have one woman 1 week, two the next, and you're like,
yeah,
it's completely unpredictable, completely unsustainable. And I said to you, look, put it into blocks, a start and an end date.
yeah,
And if they miss a week, it's I'm sorry, but, and you did that. And not only did you get consistent income, but your classes are full, aren't they? And that's the crazy thing about it. The minute you create this boundary, this booking system that encourages consistent income, all of a sudden you're full. It's like, but
yeah. It's crazy, isn't it?
it's
Yeah,
crazy. It takes a lot to do,
yeah,
because behind that, Claire, that first thing, your endeavor to your drop-in endeavors was so heart-led. I want to teach in a way that's flexible. People, I know how hard motherhood is. I know that sometimes your baby don't sleep. I know that sometimes you're tired, but ultimately you want to serve these mums and mums to be. For you to be here, they they've got to pay for you, like, and the analogy
yeah. And it's also for the other mums, isn't it, Amy?
yes.
Like if you've got like, I mean, I have quite a small studio, so I do have small
Mm,
classes
mm,
anyway.
mm,
And if only one mum comes, the others are like, oh well, I came for
mm.
community. There's not much
Yeah,
community.
yeah.
Well, as the four mums that I have booked in the other space, they come every week because they've paid for it and they
Hmm.
arrive. One mum said, "Oh, I had a medical appointment, but I'm just coming for like half an hour of the class." I'm like,
Yeah.
"That's fine. You still
Hmm.
seeing some other people on a Monday
Yeah.
morning." And I think I'm very much at the start of my journey still, and
Mm,
like in terms of the blocks and getting organized. But
mhm,
and from the flip side, I've done it around the school that it's called the VAW, the area I live in. It's called the
mm.
VAW school holidays. And I follow the exact same date. So when parents ask, I say I do it because I follow the VAW school holidays. And then I get a break and I fill my cup up and I'm really looking forward to like there's a long weekend next weekend. I'm telling everyone today, as for the school
Mm.
shut, so I'm not running.
Yeah.
And then you get that break to reset. And I love the way you talked about the studio as a year. I'm only just starting to think about it like that. I put a flying yoga kids camp for the young
Mm.
ones in the morning and the teenagers in the afternoon. So I know I can get that bit of income in. Okay, get this amount of people in. I need 8 people. Got my rent covered for for summer. It's things like that. So like, and then like, I know that you even think about the year ahead of that. So like, I'm like out on the program. I'm like, yeah, actually, we do need to start like just putting a diary out there for the
Mhm,
future year, and then
mhm.
it can plant the seed. And so it's like this mentality of not like being almost like thinking about tomorrow, and it causes anxiety. I know it did for me,
That's
like just one day at a time. There's nothing set. Like I
no,
didn't like I feel like I grow more now because I
yes.
can take time and invest and get my classes a bit better because I'm not worrying about who's coming. And like I really do feel that like, and I'm at the start of that, I actually went all extreme and created a year-round kids program. So
Yeah,
they
but
have
it's
to sign up for the year.
such a good idea. We will talk about that. We will
Yeah,
talk about that.
yeah,
I think as well, let's be really compassionate to yourself. You opened a studio in 2019. Then we've had COVID. COVID affected, that's 2 years, right? 2022,
yeah,
COVID still lurking around at the start of 2022. Then we go into energy economic crisis. And I think like, you know, that is still rumbling to some extent, but I think you're hitting a place where you can now start to establish your rhythm. And like
yeah, I feel that too.
I have this saying, like, we're always ready to be ready. You can always like feel like I've got to do this and I've got to do that and I've got to do this. But I hope you're hearing Claire, guys, listening to Claire's journey, that she got this sorted and she put in her systems, her booking systems and her blocks. There were other stuff we did, Claire, like I went on your website and I was like, your studio's lush. The slings look amazing. There ain't many pictures. I was like,
No one can see it.
no, I was like, get shouting about your website. And then you
Yeah,
got energetically behind your business and you showed up more on social media, not because I told you to, but you were energetically excited to do so. And
yeah,
then you also, one of my favorite things that you did is we've talked about, you came up with this idea yourself, like, I need consistent income. And you've come up with this kids club. you know, annual thing. You sign up for the year, they come to you after school and they get to hang out in their slings, which teenagers, I mean, like girls and boys, but there is a thing about, you know, like self-regulating and hanging upside down, and girls with neurodiversity, it's really powerful for them. And this was such a good idea, and it's going to be like, it's one of my winner chicken dinner ideas. If you got it full, it was going to be consistent.
Winner chicken.
Winner. But let's be honest, like, it was coming up to it going, and you're like, I've just got one person. Claire went on a mission. You stood outside a school and handed out flyers.
I did, and I loved it, to be honest. Chatting to the parents, it was really cool because I love what I was offering. Like, so it felt really.
But this is where, like, energy is everything. Alignment is everything. You were behind your business. You were behind your offer. You knew this kids club not only was going to create consistent income for you, but you were like, God, the kids are going to really enjoy this. And you just start, and instead of it just being on social media and chatting to people on your newsletter, you literally went out in the community and verbally, physically spoke to people in person. And this is so forgotten. I think people think, right, I need a marketing strategy. They think social media, they think search engine optimization on their website if they're lucky. They may think about email marketing, and people forget, and this might be a bit COVID related, people forget the power of a flyer, the power of going out, particularly if you have a local business, which you do, going out to local businesses and chatting to people. And that's what you did really, really well. And the kids club, it's full.
Well, no, I mean, like, it's gonna start in after the school holidays. So I'm kind of in this period of kids are coming in, like, to this one class now, but I'm hoping it will fill up. It's really funny. You touched on teenagers, and because I've been going out there speaking to people, I have realized there is a massive need for like 11 up into teens. And the age range that I thought 16 would go to an adult class, absolutely not. The parents telling me they want a class, they are stressed. And if I hadn't gone out and spoken to people, apparently, like, the 6 to 9 year old range who I've invited in and they're having lessons with me now, they've got too many activities. It's actually those teens I need to shift up a bit. And if we don't go out there and talk to parents and people, we don't find this stuff out, and we might just give up because, what we're doing is not needed. But if we really know that and love it, then it gives us a chance to, like, actually keep going. And
and I think,
I
was going to say, that's so important, that you can make assumptions about your audience. So you put their offer together, you're like, why is no one taking it up? You have to talk to people. And I think I said to you about this, I was like, it's not the children you've got to sell this to, it's the parents. Go out and chat to the parents. And like, and teenagers, I'm not going to get on this topic, but they are the forgotten age range, and I
feel like that too as well. And they might not want to, not all of them want to go and see a psychologist, or not all of them want to, like, sit down and talk about it. So the teenager that I teach privately, she doesn't want to talk about it. She wants to move her body, like, she wants to get comfy, she wants to, like, listen to the vibration of a Tibetan bowl. So it's really cool.
Back to your studio there, because your studio you created has created the opportunity for you to offer this. You without the studio, you couldn't have had the slings, because the slings need special attachments and special and strong enough beams. So your studio has been the pathway to this.
It has, hasn't it? The
I know. We've done so much in the mentorship program. I mean, refined your current offers, got your website updated, got the energy behind everything that you're doing, looked at I call it a pathway to profit. And with that pathway to profit, it's what can you do now? What is immediately in front of you? And that was sorting out your classes, your bookings, and getting that sorted. Then the middle ground is kind of like where you are right now, just like, what's already available in terms of what have I already got and already in my audience that I can create new offers for, which you've done. And I know, like, the next step is like, okay, what's beyond this? And I can very excitingly reveal that I'm coming out to Claire's studio. Woo! Next April, Amy Yoga's going international. I'm going to run a yin training course at Claire's studio. But that's kind of like, I know, like, we won't talk too much about this stuff, Claire, but we've talked about how you could possibly, I could come and do this training. We can work collaboratively. It's got you thinking about, children's training and going into schools. And not to mention, there still is the potential for you to do online offerings, because you've got hypnobirthing, birth workshops. There's so many pathways that you could go down. But
Yeah, I think that's on the. I've got a lovely one
on the
planned.
horizon.
That's sort of the next thing, like on the list after getting everything sort of organized and profitable, and the next step. And I love a saying you always say, "You're right where you meant to be. You're meant to be." That I have to tell myself that, because I've been
Yes, you
planning an
do.
online course, like so many of us, for like a year now, and not got round to filming it, but will. And I just tell myself it's okay. That's how we live. Like I'm
Could
right where
you
I'm meant to be, and that saying really helps me a lot.
could you imagine though, right? You joined at the end of January, early February, and I said to you, right, you're
Yeah,
going to put up your prices, update your website, you're going to start new offers, you're going to fill those offers, you're going to do your online course, and you're going to think about expanding out into training. And that's going to happen now. You'd be like, Amy, please, can I have my money back? I'm
yeah,
so overwhelmed. And
yeah,
if you try to do all of
yeah,
that stuff then, and let's say you did it and it all just happened, how stressed would you be? You couldn't deliver all those things.
yeah.
We
It'd
have
be too
this,
much. Yeah,
it is, we think we want to be at, I'm guilty of this. I want to be at that end. Well, there is no end game, by the way. There's constant involving and
yeah,
having fun and following what lights you up, and this is exciting. One of the things you're like me, you're like, oh, I've got an idea and this is exciting, and off you go. And there's been a few
yeah,
times I'd be like, Claire, just let's just, and I only know because I'm the same. I'm like,
yeah,
Amy, let's just focus on this. And you've
yeah.
got
Let's
really
make
good
this a bit profitable, so we've got a bit of income as well. Before we jump onto next, let's
do
enjoy this.
you do what
Definitely
I
needed
do,
that.
don't you? You write, if an idea comes, you now write it
Yeah, I
down.
write it in. I've got an ideas book.
Mm.
That helps, doesn't
Yeah,
it? Yeah, that's
definitely.
lovely. And I think with the Yin teacher training, I think it's going to be lovely.
So
And
excited,
I said
Claire.
to Amy, I bet we have lots of people from England come over to
Oh yeah,
Switzerland,
listen,
and
that's it.
I'm really
So
excited.
it's April
Yeah, I'm
2024,
really,
guys. If you want to book your
yeah.
plane now, yeah, it's happening. I'm going to come over, do a 4-day
I'm
in-person yin training course. We're going to get the slings out, aren't we? There's going to be some sling.
I was about to say that we're gonna do an introduction to Yin yoga in the hammock. So I'm gonna do that. So Amy's doing the teaching.
So
I'm there, and
excited.
I'm gonna do the lovely luxury added workshops. You can see how you feel about the Yin and the aerial
And I tell you
mix.
what, I've got goosebumps. My higher self is going crazy. Look, I'm
Yeah.
conscious of the time, Claire. 5 minutes left. So I
Oh,
hope you.
yeah.
I know, how has this happened? I told you we were just natter, and it would time would
Yeah, it
just
feels
pass.
like 5 minutes,
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah, yeah.
it?
Claire, now as most people to the podcast know, the doors to my mentorship program are reopening at the end of this month.
Yeah.
Anyone who's thinking of coming in, what would you say? What's your advice to them?
I always say do it, jump in, give it a go. Like I feel like we all as yoga teachers or whatever area you're in that space, we need support. At what
Mm,
level we are, we need a cheerleader. We need
mhm.
someone to take care of us a bit and say, yeah, it's okay, give it a go. Bounce ideas off of, like also like me earlier on, and Amy's further down, further along in her journey, can say, yeah, I did that, or this is, it's just really lovely to have
Mm,
someone out there to
mm,
support you, to be
mm,
your cheerleader,
mhm.
and from a practical perspective, to have this lovely online system, to have like marketing, you can podcast it, you can listen to it when you
Yeah.
want, you can print the stuff
So
out, write on it.
what
Okay,
Claire's
all
talking
the
about, I'm going to
technology
interrupt you, Claire.
stuff.
Hang on. Claire is talking about there's a self-paced study. It's a 6-module study,
Yeah.
and it literally takes you through every aspect of running a business.
Technology, website,
And you can podcast
booking,
it, can't you, Claire?
marketing, everything. Yeah. Yeah. And I think it makes it manageable, because I know some of the other people on the course don't have time for certain bits, but you've got it there. You can go back to, and it's in normal like language. Whereas I don't know about other people listening. It's overwhelming. We're supposed to be an accountant, a marketing expert, and the course just like gives all Amy's knowledge
Yeah.
and all the stuff she's read, and just gives us a massive sort of how can I say, yoga hack, life hack.
Yeah. Do you
So
know
I
what?
think it's
Like the
really
word,
great.
I I hear the word strategy and I'm like, oh, what strategy? And I think, like, you know, like, because you're like, what's your marketing strategy? And I'm like, get energetically behind what you're doing. It's the beautiful brain, get excited about what you're doing. I'm there going, you can do this, and the strategy just happens. And Claire, let's finish
Yeah.
on, like, I'm just feel like I'm here to guide you guys, and I will give you anything I can do to help you. So the other day when we were having, and this is the other thing, you've got this self-paced study aspect of the course. There's community, isn't there? So we've got a community space. You guys are
Yeah,
so
lovely.
supportive in there. I love that. Like, we've been doing a bit on social email marketing, and one of the ladies helped the other lady to set up her email marketing because they both had Wix websites. Like, I literally was crying. I was like, I love you guys. And
Yeah,
then
really nice
we
group.
also have personal support. You can't see this if you're listening, but on Apple or Spotify, but you know, I've got my phone in my hand and there's WhatsApp or Voxer, so voice messaging support. Claire's sending me beautiful messages all the time. We're chatting, but there's personal support. And the other day when we were talking
Yeah.
about this teacher training, I was like, oh, I've got a 2-hour workshop, you know, becoming the trainer, and I uploaded that to the self
Yeah, it's really cool.
program. I put that in module 6 expansion, and I'm just so happy to share, you know, where I am. And, like, you know, what you guys at the moment don't know is I'm in a launch phase, and what I'm doing is I'm making little videos. I'm keeping all the evidence of what I'm doing, because I'm going to then create a module which is like launching, so you can see that. And, like, you know, a lot of you right now, you don't need to think about launching, but you down the line, you're either launching your children's
You
yoga
might want to look.
training course,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
launching your online offer. You're like, I can go back and see that. And that's the thing. It's not training is like training is linear. You learn this, you move on to that. You learn this, you move on to that. Your business is like a exciting, windy road. So, Claire, look, thank you so much for coming on. I've absolutely, I mean, we're not done yet. You still got a few months left in my mentorship program. You can't get rid of me. Then I'm coming,
Yeah, yeah.
then I'm coming to
And then we've
Switzerland for
got Yin
Christmas.
Yoga teacher training here.
Yeah, and then I'm coming over, oh, you know what? This could be my annual trip to Switzerland to teach Yin
I
yoga.
would love it. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this, guys, I hope you're seeing this. This is, you get the universe, when you get energetically behind, like lined up, the universe just hooks you up. The universe will hook you up with your
Yeah.
students. Ideas come to you. Don't initially act on all of them, or if you're like me and Claire, you'd have a new business every day. Put them down in a book and then give
Yeah.
yourself a bit of time. The ones you get really excited about, follow. Claire,
You know,
you
yeah.
are a massive success story. You've got this beautiful studio behind you. You are serving the local community, mums, bumps, and little ones, moving into children and those teenagers with your wonderful slings. I mean, and you've not just that. I didn't know you've had your studio since 2019. You've survived the worst period in history to own a yoga studio, and look at you. You're like, you need to be, nothing can stop me now. Not just that, you've grown a baby in that time as well. So be so proud.
So nice to have you, Amy. Like,
Oh,
sometimes we always think like, oh my gosh, you know, I can't do this. I don't. I definitely know I have those moments,
mm,
and then I can like reach out and just I have a supportive family network as well. But to have a mentor is really, really lovely.
well, it's a
And I
pleasure.
think mostly for yoga teachers, it is we can grow a lot bigger than we ever imagined if we get some like support from someone like Amy, and Amy's level of energy really helps. So thank you.
No, it's a pleasure. I mean,
It was
I
a
will
pleasure to
close
have a
on.
chat today.
Yeah, I will close on the fact that this is why I'm here, Claire, because, like, the yoga industry is a multi-billion-pound industry,
Yes.
predominantly led by women, and everyone I was working with was struggling to make money. And I'm like, you know, when you're like, I'm done with this. This is
Yeah.
not, this is just not how it's going to be. So I'm just excited because you come into my mentorship program and everyone that comes in gets success. So, you know, and you're part of it.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Claire. And
Lovely.
I will see
Okay.
you soon.
Yeah, see you soon. So shall we say bye for now?
Yeah, we will say
Or
bye. I
you
am just going to tell everyone that I will put the link to my mentorship program. You can add your name to the wait list. And there is a free workshop, how to fill your yoga classes with law students. I will put the link to that. And otherwise, I will see you all next week.